Welcome to Scrunchy Time. I'm Nicole Hegstead, your fertility advocate. After 6 years of infertility and 3 miscarriages, I decided that I needed to become the advocate for my own body. If you're exhausted from struggling to get pregnant and want to know more about how I can help, check out my website at www.nicolehegstead.com.
And I'm Bridget May, your children's health expert. My son was born with a heart condition that led to 3 open heart surgeries, cath labs, a tracheostomy, and a ventilator. After being fed up with mixed opinions, I became my children's own advocate. If your child's health is lacking, then check out my website at www.bridgetmay.com to find out more how I can help. Put your hair up and pay attention while we discuss today's hottest topics concerning female hormones and healthy kiddos.
We aren't silky.
We aren't crunchy. We're scrunchy. Hi, and welcome back to Scrunchy Time. So today we're going to talk about hobbies. So just in talking and like my lifestyle changes, of course, with like going camping this summer and all the things, it's really come to mind that who has a hobby anymore and what are our hobbies? And if you're like me, I say I have a hobby and then realize it's from 15 years ago or in high school or whatever, and I really don't know if I like that hobby anymore. So really just wanted to bring up the importance of having a hobby and how, like, you know, we all do the same things and we need to have more diversity and to get in touch with our creative side, whatever that is for you. So Nicole's going to also talk a little bit about it more with care and how important it is in that for us too. So
yes. So obviously hobbies are definitely a source of self-care. I just really realized in writing up my self-care and stress management course that one of the best ways to manage stress other than meditation is to involve yourself in a hobby that you actually enjoy, because when you can get lost in something that you're actually enjoying, then your stress melts away. Like, let's face it, you know, if you're doing something that you really love and you think about that one thing that you really love, and I'm not talking about bubble baths, you know, like, yes, that's a form of self-care, but that's not a hobby. Like, that's a totally different thing. We're talking about like woodworking or doing puzzles or sewing a quilt. When you can really get into that creativity space, you're not thinking about work. Like, and if you are, it's kind of like, who cares? Like, honestly, I have found that when I'm really enraptured in a project and that coworker that I hate pops into my mind, it's like, oh, they're missing out on this amazing thing, because like, this is awesome and my life is so much better than theirs, you know, because I get to sew this quilt. And so like, and I'm not saying it needs to even be like a competition thing, but like, it just, there's no space in your mind for that kind of stress, and it just goes away because it just doesn't matter at that point. So in creating my my class on stress management and self-care, I actually include a list of hobby ideas for people to go through. And it's everything from puzzles and creativity to athletic hobbies to outdoor hobbies to indoor hobbies, you name it. So I really like tried to focus on all of the different aspects that hobbies can include, and so that way people can go through and decide what they want to do. Because Bridget's right, like, we really don't have a lot of hobbies these days. We really clean our house and watch Netflix when we're not at work, you know. And I so agree with you. I was raised in a home that was it was almost like Pride and Prejudice feeling. Like, we were going to know how to play the piano, and we were going to know how to like do needlepoint and like sew and knit, you know. And so it was like, I remember growing up, the older I got, the more I would watch some of those BBC movies, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is my life. Like, the piano, you know, is all that it's about, like, in my home. Now that I'm an adult, I look at a lot of hobbies that people are like, oh, what do you like to do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's been a journey for myself, because those were hobbies that I'm glad that I learned them. I'm appreciative of having been taught them, but in a way they were forced upon me, and I didn't choose to do those. I was taught them because my family kind of believed that we were supposed to do those. And so I was left with the hobbies that I did have weren't stuff that I actually enjoyed. And so it's been a journey for me to find stuff that I actually enjoy. And I'm sure most of us are in that same boat. So that's kind of where I get to this point.
Yeah, well, and us talking about this, like, so we're downsizing and everything, getting ready to move into our like our trailer and go camping this summer. And I'm gonna be heading back to my parents and cleaning out some stuff. And I still have stuff like, oh yeah, this is a hobby I love to do. Someday I'm gonna knit again while I watch TV. Someday I'm gonna, you know, I have material to sew each of my kids like a little baby quilt. Yes, my son is almost 4, and had 2 cents. And you know, like all these things. And it's just like, really, like, do I want to do that, or is that something that I was supposed to do, you know? And like, is it really enjoyable for me anymore? So it's really given me a different mindset of like, these are things that we need to be enjoying doing. Like, if you don't enjoy making a quilt for each one of your kids, don't do it. You know, it needs to be a hobby you really enjoy. And really, really want to do. So like you said, you can zone out and it's not a source of frustration, you know? So I'm really looking forward to that now, hopefully purging some more things, Marie Kondo style. Does this bring you joy? Already expert at that, but another area where it's like so true. So yeah, so really looking forward to that. And then like in my kids and stuff too, like realizing, like you were saying, like not forcing certain hobbies on them as like, well, you have to know how to do this in order to whatever, which I do think we do need to learn diversity. And I think, you know, you should learn some form of sewing, you know, you need to know how to sew a button on, and male or female and all those kinds of things. But it shouldn't be like, yeah, you have to sew the quilt that's going to win the county fair prize.
Right. And maybe not teach it to them as a hobby, you know, teach it to them as a life skill.
A life skill, exactly.
You can sew a button on because this is a life skill, but like, you know, letting them choose from there. So yeah. Super.
Yeah, if they want to take it further or not. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I definitely feel like was a generational thing for sure. Like we did do that a lot in our generation. We did a lot of those things. So yeah, but now it's like swung the other way to where, when would our kids even have time for a hobby? You know, like the average child alone gets up at 6:45, is out the door into school by 8, comes home, has homework, has, you know, forced upon after school sports and activities and after school programs and church programs and this and that. And before you know, the week's gone and it's Monday again. You know, and in between there, they did a little computer and TV time to chill, you know, and when would our kids even have, you know, time to create their own hobbies and any of that? And let alone if you take the homeschooling route or whatever, you know, you still have to create that lifestyle. You still have to create that time and space for that to happen, you know. One thing I'm anxious to get back into is reading. I do love reading. I'm not a very good reader, but I do love reading. And I can't remember who I was talking to, but it's been over 4 years since I picked up a book. I can tell you exactly where I left off in Gone with the Wind 4 years ago when I was pregnant with Fritz. And that was the last book I read for fun. Anything else I've read is like been a research paper or, you know, like trying to find the answer to something, or, you know, a short devotional or something. Like I have not sat down and read for fun in 4 years. And simply because we don't have the time for it. We literally, I would have to set a timer and be like, okay, at 6 o'clock, I'm going to sit down and read, you know, and I really don't look for that to happen in the future because of 3 toddlers, but like, it is something I am looking forward to getting into eventually. So, so yeah, it's just, we do need to create that time and space, both for us as parents and for our children. And modeling is also the best teacher. So, or one of the best teachers. So if you're not doing it and showing them how to take time for stuff that you love, they're not going to do it either. And so continues the vicious cycle of workaholics.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I wanted to say too, as important and vital as downtime is with the whole TV thing, with the whole Netflix thing, like there's definitely value in enjoying a good TV show and just chilling. There is. But that's not a hobby. Like, we aren't creating.
Oh, absolutely.
Creative. We aren't training our body. Like, as much as I would say there are physical hobbies as well, like, it needs to be something that we're creating. It needs to be something that we're pushing our body to do better at, or we're pushing our mind, or we're learning, or we're creating. And we aren't creating when we're watching TV. We aren't creating when we're playing a video game. It's, mindless zombie time, which is, again, there's time for that. And I'm not going to sit here and say no screen time, because I definitely have my fair share of screen time. But it's not a hobby. And that's what we need to remind ourselves of, is there needs to be a certain amount of creativity in our life that we enjoy. Because without that, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm fortunate enough to be able to say that I've created a business for my own home. And that in and of itself has been a huge creativity thing. But for those of us that can't quit our jobs, we need hobbies, because we aren't creating anything if we're just working for someone else and helping them achieve their dreams. And so it's one of those things where we have to have a hobby, because we need to have that spark of creativity. We need to be creating something. And, not even necessarily not even necessarily to leave our mark on the world, but just for the energy that it gives us to be creative. There's a spark there that happens in our own lives when we are able to do something like that, whether it lasts to the next generation or not. Like, it's for us that we're doing this.
Well, yeah, and that is a fun side note. Whatever we do, it's been proven that not only our health, we usually think of our DNA being passed down as health, but actually we pass down memories through our DNA as well. So that's, if we used to hear, the blacksmith family, and they were all blacksmiths for generation. Well, that's because they knew how to do those things. Yeah. And not that I completely agree that everyone is going to do that. You're going to end up having diversity there, where somebody's going to come along and want to do something else, but that does happen. And so, if you're not broadening your mind and doing different things, and you're not passing it, anything down as well. So
right, exactly. What a great point. That's really good. Yeah. So I am going to be including a freebie near or around wherever this podcast is listed on my website. If you're listening to it on a different platform, you can check it out on my website, but it's the list of all the hobbies that I have in that self-care and stress management course. So you can print that off, and basically I encourage you to go through. It has little check boxes next to it, and I encourage you to go through and check off all the stuff that you would never, ever, ever be interested in, and then take the rest of the list and copy it into your calendar or your to-do list, or on a separate list altogether for things for you to try. And then slowly, once a month, try a new hobby until you find something that you enjoy, and then work on that and develop what you want to develop. And I'm sure that there are other hobbies out there too that are not on the list, but the list is pretty extensive. It's like 3 pages long of double columns. So I was pretty impressed with how many I got on there. But if you have a hobby, we would love to hear from you what your hobby is and what you enjoy. And if you create something, maybe you could even share a picture of it or something like that.
Share your work with us. Yeah,
absolutely. And especially if that hobby is not on the list, I would love to hear from you. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So thank you for offering that. That's fantastic.
No, I'm glad to. So cool. Well, thank you for joining us.
Well,
again, if you have any input, feel free to reach out to us, but we will talk to you in 2 weeks.
All right. Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on today's podcast. If you'd like to know more about our programs or watch the podcast in video form, you can visit our websites, where we also share links and resources concerning the different topics that we have discussed. Check me out at www.nicolehegstead.com. And check me out at www.bridgetmay.com. See you next time.